Chapter 626, as the plot proceeds. Inside the Clear Lake Club's monitoring room. The red light district was always a burial mound for heroes, and furthermore, how could such mean and shameless men withstand the superb methods of the service of these slutty girls otherwise? The door of the monitoring room was pushed open as Wang Zidong came in with a smirk on his face. "All right, I've done it. These perverts should go to the room shortly if they can withstand the effect of the drug, but if not, I'm afraid I must open the KTV box to cover up such a frantic orgy." "What is the dosage of the drug you used on them?" asked Tang Xiu while raising his brows. "Twice the dosage for two of them," said Wang Zidong while extending his two fingers. Tang Xiu couldn't help laughing. "Luckily you didn't use too much, or else they would definitely drop dead atop a woman's belly given their poor physical health. I'd likely have done if it was some other time, though. But letting them die atop a woman's belly is way too great for them. Yeah, for those loose shits dying beneath peony blossoms, even becoming ghosts, they would be distinguished and accomplished. Just let them catch fire and go to hell. Enough is enough. If this can be tolerated, what cannot?" Huang Su grinned. "Anyhow, we've sent the messages and the Blue City TV station's CEO has obtained it and is now on the way to the club. We still can't contact the Regal Classical Music Academy's side, though. The cell phone of the working staff is turned off." Tang Xiu was silent for a short while before picking his mobile phone and dialing a cell number, a number belonging to Huang Jia, a teacher in the Regal Classical Music Academy. In the beginning, she and her bosom friends were the ones who spotted and settled on Li Xiaoqian before she finally got the chance to enroll in the Regal Classical Music Academy. Blue City, Emerald Bouquet Garden Estate. It was hard to come by Sunday for Huang Jia to rest at home. She sat in front of her laptop and surfed the internet in search of good music accompanied by her husband, when Xiaohua, who sat on the back sofa reading the newspaper. Ring ring ring. A mobile's ringtone sounded all of a sudden, attracting the husband and wife. Who could be calling? Huang Jia frowned and spoke in a low tone. "It's a hard chance to come by for me, to be able to rest at home today. I won't go out no matter who is calling." Hearing his wife's grumble made Wen Xiaohua smile. He immediately shook his head and commented, "Don't speak like that. You're a hustle-bustle master, and I'm afraid you would have run outside right away if anyone were to tell you there's something interesting. It'd be a wonder." Seemingly very dissatisfied with her husband's comment, Huang Jia rolled her eyes at him before answering the call. "Huang Jia speaking, may I know who am I speaking with?" "It's Tang Xiu, a former high school classmate of Li Xiaoqian. Is this teacher Huang I'm speaking with?" Tang Xiu's voice was heard from the mobile phone. "Tang Xiu?" Staring blankly for a moment, Huang Jia's eyes immediately turned wide and replied with a pleasantly surprised tone. "How come you remember to call me, Tang Xiu? Have you changed your mind and are willing to become a teacher at my Regal Classical Music Academy? Our doors will be open for you as long as you're willing to come here. You have too many vile beasts in your Regal Classical Music Academy, and I loathe to be associated with those birds and animals," said Tang Xiu. "By the way, the reason I'm calling you now is that I remember you saying that your husband is the vice president of the Regal Classical Music Academy. Is that right?" With slightly furrowed brows, Wang Jia couldn't understand why Tang Xiu would call her only to reprimand her for no reason at all. But she still answered after a moment's hesitation, "That's right. Huang Jia, considering that we are acquaintances, I'm going to give your Regal Classical Music Academy a chance for your husband to find the head of your institution and rush to the Clear Lake Club within 2 hours. I assure you that your institution's reputation will change from famous to notorious otherwise." Beep. After hearing Tang Xiu's words, Huang Jia was stunned before the beeping tone coming from the mobile made her realize that the call was over. Yet, she couldn't figure out what happened from Tang Xiu's words. "What happened, wife?" quickly asked Wen Xiaohua upon seeing his wife's dazed expression. "Husband, do you remember a young man I once told you about?" Huang Jia snapped back to her senses and replied with a strange expression. It's Tang Xiu, an expert of the zither who has reached the pinnacle of expertise on it.
Yeah,
I remember him. He's a very famous young man, a musical expert, and possesses superb medical skills. Not only is he a student at Shanghai University, but he's also a young miracle-working doctor at the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. What did he call you for? Asked Wen Xiaohua. Yes, he's the one who called me saying that you should rush to find Principal Zhang and then rush to the Clear Lake Club as fast as possible, or else the reputation of our Regal Classical Music Academy will become infamous and notorious. Wen Xiaohua's expression turned serious. He may have ignored it if it was someone else, but the one who called was Tang Xiu, someone he must pay attention seriously since his identity was special. Such a person wouldn't speak like that for no reason. Some incident must have happened. When Xiaohua put the newspaper down, grabbed his coat and wore it before saying, I'm going to find Principal Zhang immediately and then go that club. Clear Lake Club. Huang Jia quickly added. It's a newly opened upscale club in our blue city. Ah, forget it. I'm going with you. Clear Lake Club. Even if Wang Zidong used twice the normal dosage of the drugs on Director Bai, Tang Jin, and the two others, the quartet was already panting for breath after throwing away everything they got in less than half an hour. They were still very satisfied nevertheless, as the feeling of having a threesome and the services of the women were truly superb. It was simply, ignite and let loose. After the event came to an end, the 4 men and 8 women still holed themselves inside the luxury private suite, whereas the quartet enjoyed the comfort brought by the heater while savoring the taste of being fed fruit by stark naked women. Old Tang, it's like in the olden times. The feeling of being a fatuous and self-indulgent ruler with beauties is not bad, said Director Bao with a lascivious smiling face. Tang Jin nodded and smilingly said, Director Bai, men are the strong iron of the 4 elements, shall we have another round? Anyways, let's gather again to enjoy such a red light district pleasure later if there's an opportunity. Besides, these young beauties are much better than those fading old women in our homes, to begin with. The quartet took more than an hour of rest before starting to shoot their guns and mount the horses again. The combat power they still had was much lower, nevertheless, as the longest one among them could only last for 7+ minutes before caving in. At this time, inside the monitoring room of the Clear Lake Club, Chen Wei, the CEO of the Blue City TV station, Zhang Qifeng, the principal of Regal Classical Music Academy, and the vice principal of the academy, Wen Xiao, stared at the orgy displayed on the surveillance screen. Rage and fury almost blasted them inside out, whereas Huang Jia lowered her head while sitting on the back sofa and spoke nothing. Her face was that of anger and shame. With a scowling sneer hanging on his mouth, Tang Xiu indifferently said, We did not deliberately try to set them up. But the sins and unjust actions they've done themselves doomed them to the ruin they deserve. Teacher Huang Jia, it was you who was the first that spotted and took Li Xiaoqian to the Regal Classical Music Academy, but a teacher of your institution, a respected associate professor, unexpectedly forced his own student to accompany these men. This made me doubt and suspect the integrity and morality of your Regal Classical Music Academy's teachers as a whole. The same doubt for the morality and character of the staffs of the Blue City TV station as well. Huang Jia raised her head and cursed, Tang Jin is an immoral beast in human clothing. Beasts in human clothing as they are, they shall have the proper punishment they deserve, said Tang Xiu indifferently. I did not intend to look for you all at the beginning. I thought to only spread out this video, and either your Regal Classical Music Academy or the Blue TV station would be sure to have gained a notorious reputation afterward. Chen Wei had a change in expression and flusteredly said, Please don't, Mr. Tang. We will give you an explanation for this matter. What will you do to make up for this, exactly? Asked Tang Xiu indifferently. Chen Wei thought for a short while before gritting his teeth and saying, They don't deserve and are unworthy of being employees of the Blue City TV station. I'll immediately fire them. I'll also expel Tang Zhen directly. Angrily yelled Zhang Qifeng. Dismissing them is only a half-assed solution. Tang Xiu shook his head. As a matter of fact, you don't need to fire them since they already can't continue staying in their positions anymore. The reason why I asked all of you to hear is I hope that you would call the police. Call the police? With a change in expression, Zhang Qifeng quickly said, but Mr. Tang, won't this club also be affected if you call the police? You see. We are not afraid of being affected by this matter. Huang Su waved his hand. As long as these shameless scum are punished, what can a small impact account for in the first place? Zhang Qifeng gasped for breath. Chen Kai was silent before slowly speaking, Little Su, does your father know about this matter? Uncle Chen, I don't think that father needs to be informed about this matter. Huang Su shook his head. Tang Xiu is a friend of mine and Li Xiaoqian is his high school classmate. My dad will never blame me even if he knows. Chanwei took a cigarette from his pocket, ignited it and took a deep puff before nodding and saying, I'll make the call. Inside the luxury box. Tang Zhen, Director Bai, and the two others took a break to recover their energy. However, this red light district enjoyment was something hard to come by, so the quartet had made plans to spend their time until the evening today to enjoy it. Bam! The door of the box was kicked from the outside, and more than a dozen policemen in their duty uniforms rushed inside. What? The quartet was stunned. They barely wore any clothes and now faced the police rushing inside. In a flash, they felt like they had fallen into an ice hole as intense fear filled their hearts. We've caught all the alleged people involved in an orgy party red-handed. A middle-aged man shouted while looking at the quartet with a disgusted expression. No, no, no. Director Bai hurriedly shouted. I have something to say. We are from the provincial TV station. Provincial TV station? The middle-aged man policeman sneered. It was the CEO of your provincial TV station who personally reported you to the police, hence don't think about wasting your own saliva anymore. What? Director Bai was shocked and the other three were dumbfounded as a disbelieving expression covered their faces. A few minutes later, when the quartet had put on their clothes and were taken out with the 8 women, disbelief plastered itself on their faces when they saw the TV station CEO, Chen Wei, and the principal and vice principal of the Regal Classical Music Academy, Zhang Qifeng and Wen Xiaohua, as well as Wang Zidong who stood next to the group. In a flash, the quartet finally came to the realization that all of these events were arranged and set up by Wang Zidong, clearly providing them with everything for them to pit themselves. Chapter 627, Losing All Standing and Reputation. Everyone will reap whatever they once sowed. Notwithstanding that heaven may have some good things, yet the chance of it to fall onto one's head in real life in this world was minuscule. Falling beneath the effect of liquor was never a good thing, for one would lose reason and sanity. It was nothing but a simple trap, yet Tang Zhen and Director Bai's group of 4 had easily fallen into the pit though they had unusual statutes. And what awaited them were tragic and miserable ends. While watching the quartet rain down curses at Wang Zidong as they were taken away by the police, Tang Xiu dialed Ouyang Lulu's cell number and spoke. Bring Li Xiaoqian out and accompany her to the police station to file a report and sue these bastards. It would be perfect if attempted rape is filed upon their heads. Okay, we'll come out shortly, said Ouyang Lulu with a smile before hanging up the phone. Tang Xiu took a deep breath. Then, he patted Wang Zidong's shoulder and said, I got you wronged because of this. Remember to contact me whenever you visit Star City. I'll treat you to a drink in the best suite in the Long's dining hall. Wang Zidong's eyes lit up and immediately replied with a smile, will do when I have some time to spare. He was very excited inside since he could tell that Tang Xiu had accepted him. Maybe he was only regarded as an ordinary friend, but at least it was still a friend. Suddenly, he felt grateful to Tang Zhen and Director Bai. If they didn't treat Tang Shou's female fellow student that badly, how could he have such an opportunity to win his favor? Tang Xiu didn't participate in the following matter, but the incident progressed in the direction he had designed. Because of Li Xiaoqian's report, the thorough and detailed investigation was conducted while the Huang, Fei, and Wang families helped fan the flames, making the quartet get apprehended under criminal charges. Wang Zidong also sent their orgy video in the Clear Lake Club to their families, causing a furor as their 4 wives as well as other family members made a ruckus in the prison. In the end, 4 divorce settlements were sent to the quartet. Because it was them who derailed their marriages, the property distribution they would get after the divorce would likely be very pitiful. Losing all standing and reputation as well as falling from grace, perfectly portrayed the situation the quartet was in. The second day after the incident came to an end, it was 3 days away from the New Year's Day. Ouyang Lulu returned to Jingmen Island with a fulfilled heart, and Long Zhengyu returned from Nine Dragons Island, bringing along with him Mu Qingping and Gu Yin. It had been half a year and Gu Yin was already 5+ centimeters taller now. Her small stature was straightly lean and she gave off a bearing of nobility. She was very excited after seeing Tang Xiu as she clung to him and didn't want to leave even a slight step. As for Mu Qingping, she reported the detailed situation in Nine Dragons Island at present. She had fully grasped the situation there. Furthermore, she had now become a very qualified steward after going through training after training the instructors. She had even trained many attendants as well after putting in some effort, and the number of attendants in Nine Dragons Island had now reached 80. We're short on money at present. Finally, Mu Qingping concluded her report about the situation over there with these words. Tang Xiu lightly smiled and transferred 20 million yuan to Mu Qingping's account via mobile banking. Then he smilingly said, "Money is not a problem. Notify me in advance if you're short on money later." The straightforward kindness Tang Xiu displayed was very much to Mu Qingping's satisfaction and happiness. She realized that ever since she met Tang Xiu, her whole life had turned into splendor as though it was a dream. She used to live adrift, moving from place to place, a miserable and sorrowful woman who brought her daughter to seek medical treatment, who now turned into a respected chamberlain in the eyes of many people. Having an extravagant and luxurious life in a luxurious castle and that was in charge of 80 attendants, as well as in control of dozens of extraordinary armed forces. By the way, before coming here Mo An asked me to ask you when you will assign them back. They heard that the HQ in Jingmen Island is currently selling resources for cultivation. They have a lot of money but they can only receive the resources provided for them by the HQ but are unable to purchase them with their own money. Tang Xiu's expression moved as he nodded and replied, "I'll make a note about this matter and we'll have it arranged later." Sis Mu, you just came back from abroad, so it should be quite laborious and you must be tired, too. Stay here first, we'll return to Star City together tomorrow. Have your parents been good all this while? Asked Mu Qingping with a smile. They are now in the capital. I just called them yesterday and they said they will return to Star City the day after tomorrow, said Tang Xiu with a smile. As for us, we'll go back one day ahead so as to prepare some good things for the new year in advance. Anyways, Sis Mu, we are already a family, so you two must celebrate the new year with us every year in the future. While feeling warm inside, Mu Qingping nodded and said, "We used to be a widowed mother and an orphan, so celebrating the new year was not that meaningful to us in the past. But now is different since we have you and your parents. Yinin and I know that we now have several more loved ones, family members." Gu Yin held Tang Xiu's arm at the side and spoke with a smile. Yinin misses Grandpa and Grandma. Master, would Grandpa and Grandpa miss Yinin too? That's of course. Tang Xiu smiled. They often complain to me that they miss you, Yinin. If there were only a few things to tend to in this less than half a year, they would have left for Nine Dragons Island to see you, Yinin.
Ah.
That's right, tell me, how is your cultivation at present? Upon hearing this, Gu Yin looked somewhat downcast as she said, Master, Enin is kinda out of wits and has been unable to break through to the golden core in these 2 months. Tang Xiu stared blankly before he quickly asked, "Did your cultivation broke through to the peak foundation establishment stage?"
Yeah.
"I reached the peak level of the foundation establishment stage 2 months ago," answered Guin. "Master, you told Enin that I'm quite clever, but no matter how hard I try to condense my golden core, I still have no means to condense it like you said." "That's right, Uncle An and Uncle Ah also gave 2 pills to Enin, but it still didn't work." Secretly, Tang Xiu was speechless and dumbfounded. 6 months ago Guin was nothing but a small child who knew nothing about cultivation. 6 months had passed by and her cultivation had progressed by leaps and bounds, and she now reached the peak foundation establishment stage. Such a speed could only be described with one word: terrifying. Even in the immortal world, those children who hailed as geniuses were said as outstandingly great if they could reach the foundation establishment stage within 6 months. Moreover, they were also aided with a lot of cultivation resources. One's physique is indeed an innate capital. Sighing inside secretly, Tang Xiu replied with a smile, "Enin, you just entered cultivation for a very short period of time. Breaking through the foundation establishment stage in 6 months is already very outstanding in and of itself. Listen to Master's words. The first thing you need to do now is not to let yourself be occupied by the thought of breaking through to the golden core in the near future. What you need to do is to solidify your foundation establishment stage firmly. When you feel that you have 90% assurance of breaking through, you can condense your golden core and become a golden core expert." Guin quickly nodded as she laughed and said, "Enin will listen to everything Master says." Throughout the day, Guin was plastered at Tang Xiu's side, whereas Mu Qingping went to her room to rest. Huang Su then caught up and came to the club, as well as Fei Shan and Wang Zidong. They talked with Long Zhengyu and learned from him that he has brought with him Tang Xiu's little disciple. Immediately, they assigned people to buy a lot of gifts. Dusk finally came. Inside the luxurious suite of the Supreme Hall, Guin looked at the pile of exquisite gift boxes that was taller than her in front with an excited expression on her adorable and cute small face. "Enin, these are the gifts we bought you. Unwrap them and take a look whether they are to your fancy," said Huang Su with a smile. "Thank you, uncle." After saying thanks, Guin unwrapped and opened the beautifully packaged gift boxes. Clothes, shoes, princess hats, fine watches, mobile phones, tablets. Under the watchful eyes of Huang Su and the rest, they could see that the excited expression on her face fading away a bit each time she opened another gift box. When she opened more than a dozen, the excited expression on her face was no longer there. Huang Su, Fei Shan, and Wang Zidong exchanged dismayed looks. They couldn't figure out what happened with Guin at all. How come she didn't look happy at all after seeing their gifts? Curious, Huang Su probed, "Enin, are these gifts presented by uncle, not to your liking?" "Enin already has all these things," replied Enin with a low mood. "What?" Huang Su and the others were dumbfounded and looked at each other in dismay, being at a loss as to what to say for a period of time. They then remembered that Guin was a treasured disciple of Tang Xiu, and the master really cherished the performance of his little disciple, so he probably had provided these things for her already. Then, what kind of gifts should they give? Wang Zidong hesitated for a moment before he suddenly took a checkbook from the pocket of his coat and wrote 2 million yuan in a brush, before handing it to Guin and smilingly saying, "Enin, uncle has not married yet, so I don't have a child and am clueless about what children like. Therefore, uncle is gifting you money to buy anything you like. Also, consider it a gift from uncle for our first meeting." Huang Su and Fei Shan seemed to be inspired by him as well, as they also took out their own checkbooks and wrote 2 million numbers, all of which were then given to Guin. Guin turned her head to look at Tang Xiu, who was sitting on the sofa at her side with an inquiring look on her face. "These uncles of yours are rich people, Enin. They are giving you pocket money, so just accept it. However, give the money to your mother. After you've determined you want to buy, find your mom and ask for the money to buy them. Guin suddenly looked excited and said, Master, Enin wants to take a test to get a driver's license. Tang Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, You're still too young, girl. You can't take that test yet. Even if I can't get the card now, but at least I can learn it, right? Guin quickly said. Uncle Ao secretly took Enin several times already to drive yachts and operate the helicopter. Enin has nearly grasped all of it. It's just that I haven't had much practice. Uncle Ao said that practice makes perfect, so Enin wants to buy a yacht and a helicopter. Cough. Cough, cough. Tang Xiu, who was sipping tea, suddenly choked and spurted it out, whereas Huang Su, Fei Shan, and Wang Zidong stared at Guin with dumbfounded and tongue-tied expressions as though they were looking at an alien. After wiping his mouth, Tang Xiu forced a smile and said, Like I told you, you're still very young right now. It is not suitable for you to fly a chopper. Anyhow, I'll tell your mom to order a few yachts, nevertheless. So you can drive them whenever you want to go to the sea. Thanks a lot, master. Guin immediately cried out with an enthusiastic expression. Gulp. Huang Su, Fei Shan, and Wang Zidong gulped down their own saliva at the same time by the decision made, but the master and disciple duo. Their shock was really difficult to add up again. Chapter 628, Something Sent by Others at a Time of Need. Neither Huang Su, Fei Shan, or Wang Zidong could understand Enin at all, but Tang Xiu knew her very well. This child may still be young, but she was more mature than her peers and possessed abilities far beyond adult people. As for the reason why Tang Xiu wanted to buy yachts, it was not only to give them to Guin to play, but it was out of necessity since Nine Dragons Island itself was located in the middle of the ocean. Huang Su, what happened to those four? Recalling Tang Zhen and Director Bai's group of four, Tang Xiu felt that he must learn about their situation before leaving Blue City. Tragic and miserable, period, said Huang Su with a smile. They lost their jobs, families, and freedom in extension. There's nothing to speak of about the Regal Classical Music Academy, though, and nothing affected Li Xiaoqian at all. Even the first and second leader promised that they will help Li Xiaoqian later under viable and reasonable circumstances. Tang Xiu slightly nodded in response. He had a talk with Li Xiaoqian a few days ago. She wanted to enter the entertainment industry and as her former classmate, he lent her a hand. As of recently, Qin Shaoyang and Chui were planning to build a media and entertainment-based company, so he made a phone call to Qin Shaoyang and recommended Li Xiaoqian to him, so she could sing while still studying whenever there was an opportunity. She could also head toward movies and television if she was willing. In the next day, Tang Xiu left Blue City along with Mu Qingping and Guin. After arriving at Star City, he went to Magnificent Tang Corporation several times to formulate the development plan with Kong Xia, and also gathered with his many acquaintances from Blue City. Time passed by, and in the blink of an eye, it was only 2 days away from the New Year celebration. A fall of seasonal snow usually gives promise of a fruitful year ahead. Tang Xiu originally intended to read at home during the snowy days, but Yuan Chuling then called him to go out. After Tang Xiu walked out of the South Gate town's entrance, he saw Yuan Chuling standing next to a car on the roadside. He immediately walked to him and smilingly asked, Is there something you can't speak on the phone by asking me to come out? It's not me who's looking for you, brother. It's my old man, said Yuan Chuling. Your dad? Asked Tang Xiu, confused. What does he want from me without any rhyme or reason like this? I can kind of guess. Yuan Chuling forced a smile. My dad's company hasn't started the transformation in the past 6 months. He recently withdrew quite a lot of money but has not even determined the investment project he will invest the funds into, so he wants to talk with you to ask whether you have some good suggestions. He said that it's best if he can work and cooperate with you on some projects. Tang Xiu couldn't help but break into laughter. I don't think I'm one with shrewd business sense. Why would he want to discuss investments and business with me? And to be frank with you, I'm currently having a headache now. Huh? Yuan Chuling was puzzled. About what? Tang Shou waved his hand and answered, there are a couple projects I have in mind, but there are no means available for me to implement them. Forget it. Since Uncle Yuan wants to see me, I might as well go to see him. Maybe. Suddenly, Tang Shou's expression slightly changed and a glint flashed in his eyes as another subject suddenly popped inside his head at this moment. He quickly asked, that's right. If my memory is correct, Uncle Yuan's previous business was related to the military and they cooperated in many fields. In which direction were the products developed in his laboratory? I don't know much about this matter. It's high-tech, that, I know. It should be deeply related to weapons development though. Answered Yuan Chuling. Tang Shou blinked. He immediately opened the car's door and said, let's go see your old man. At Yuan Chuling's home. Yuan Zhengxian was sitting in the study room with a distressed look while quietly reading the list of dismissed employees. The target research for science and tech of the Research Institute had been achieved and fully completed, so he wanted to dismiss the experts and professors there, and then draft a list of staff to be dismissed more than a month ago. And yet, until now he had not yet released the list, and those researchers also went home on vacation. 46 people. How should I arrange them? Yuan Zhengxian rarely smoked, but he lit up a cigarette at this time and took a few deep puffs. Zhao Jing then appeared at the door of the room and walked inside with a cup of tea. When she saw his distressed expression, she said with a loving expression, husband, just put it down first if you can't make up your mind now. At worst, the investment would just be used to let them research some stuff. Even if it's the same as keeping them. Keeping them for some time isn't a problem, but doing it for a lifetime is close to impossible. Yuan Zhengxian smiled bitterly. What's so difficult about it? Asked Zhao Jing. It's not like we're spending the money for nothing either. We withdrew a large number of funds and we can make a lot of money if we pick the right investment projects. Besides, those engineers and scientists have been with us for more than a decade and they have contributed and made a lot of money for us. It's kind of unjust and unkind if we are to dismiss them now. I'm perfectly aware that it's heartless, so I have been unable to make up my mind all this while, said Yuan Zhengxian with a helpless expression. Now the most important thing is that I have no goals to transform our businesses. Originally, Tang Yunda had several projects, but he doesn't need a partner since he also has plenty of funds. Didn't you make your son go to Tang Shou? He may have any good investment project. Said Zhao Jing. That kid is really resourceful and has already set up a company with a large scale of operations and business deals at such a young age. He will definitely dabble in many fields in the future. And maybe due to our son's relationship with him, we might be able to catch and board this money-making fast train and make a fortune for ourselves. Sigh. Yuan Zhengxian faintly sighed and said, if I had the heart to transform the business 2 years earlier, I could have bought the shares of the magnificent Tang Corporation when it was just established. I would have sat back and idled every day now, yet the money would still come flowing in, then there would be no way I would be struck with all of a heap right now. Who knew that the magnificent Tang Corporation set up by Tang Shou would rise like this today at that time, though? Zhao Jing nodded. Anyways, let's just forget it for now, shall we? I want something joyful and happy since it's a big New Year celebration now. We'll think about what we must do later. I believe that becoming rich doesn't rely on climbing up others' business, but an investment. Let's put it off first and talk again after we meet Tang Shou. Yuan Zhengxian silently nodded. Half an hour later, Tang Shou was already sitting in front of Yuan Zhengxian. After seeing his listless expression, Tang Shou smilingly said, Uncle Yuan, if you have something in mind please speak it out. We're not strangers, to begin with. Since you speak like that, Then I won't beat around the bush, Tang Xiu, said Yuan Jingxian. The reason I sent Ling to find you this time is actually that I wanted to ask whether you have any good projects to invest into. I mentioned to you before that I wanted to transform my business to avoid myself being eyed by those forces from abroad. How much capital do you have in hand now, Uncle Yuan? Asked Tang Xiu. The military has not yet given me the latest installment for the latest product. It will be transferred to my account in April next year as per the agreement. If that is to be added up, I should have around 5 to 6 billion yuan. Tang Xiu asked, Uncle Yuan, the researchers in your lab should be experts in researching tech engineering, right? I'm going to speak out my mind through analogy here. If I have some ideas to research some type of products, which I have its specific details of the ideas in mind, will they be able to research the products according to my conception? The specific direction for the research target must be crystal clear first, or maybe you can make an example for them, said Yuan Jingxian. It's a magnetic levitation flying disc, said Tang Xiu. What object is this? Asked Yuan Jingxian, puzzled. It's a transportation vehicle, to be exact. For example, if a person stands on this magnetic levitation flying disc, they can control it to fly freely and it can guarantee that they won't fall or be thrown during the flight. Speaking about it, it's a bit similar with the induction mechanism on cars, except that the induction on a car runs on the ground, whereas the magnetic levitation flying disc flies in the sky. Yuan Jingxian wore a queer expression as he looked at Tang Xiu. He shook his head and forced a smile as he said, "This idea of yours sounds like indulging yourself in fantasy. If such an object does exist in the world, it would have created a huge sensation. The most notable thing about it is that whoever is able to research it will probably have the eyes of every force in the world set on them. And those forces will definitely resort to all means to rob it." Why is that? Tang Xiu was puzzled. Possessing science and technology is tantamount to grasping power, said Yuan Jingxian. If such magnetic levitation flying disc were to be used by the military, or so to say, to use the core technology contained in the magnetic levitation flying disc after disassembling it, it will be very easy to develop other weapons. In due course, how much chance of success do you think the result of its research and development will be? Tang Xiu fell into silence. He admitted that he only considered how to make money with this magnetic levitation flying disc but overlooked such possibility. Now, after Yuan Jingxian's reminder, he couldn't help but turn vigilant. Yuan Jingxian sighed, furthermore, even if this magnetic levitation flying disc was able to be researched and sold well like it was some high-end product, what about the safety factor of the product? You may be able to guarantee that this stuff is able to take a person flying in the air. But have you ever thought about the fact that there are no definite road or path in the air? How terrible would it be if the riders collide with each other? Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "As I said, I can solve the issue with safety measures." After being silent for a moment, Yuan Jingxian then said with a serious expression, "There are two safety measures. As long as you achieve these two, you can try to research and develop it." What safety measures? Asked Tang Xiu with a moving expression. One is the possibility of the technology being stolen and robbed, which is related to the importance of having armed forces guarding it, answered Yuan Jingxian. Supposing that I become enemies with the major forces in the world, I can hardly guarantee that I can prevent the possibility of the tech getting stolen. But, said Tang Xiu. But what? Asked Yuan Jingxian. Give me 2 or 3 years of time, said Tang Xiu with all seriousness. I'm sure that I can achieve these two aspects within this span of time. Yuan Jingxian's expression was as though he was seeing a monster. He shook his head and said, "Don't joke with me. You indeed have achieved great things, but you are simply oblivious to the horror of the power possessed by those major forces in the world. Let's forget this and put this matter off for the time being. We'll talk about this some other time." Tang Xiu suddenly asked, "Uncle Yuan, since you're going to reform your business, what about the researchers in your research institute? What are they gonna do?" Are you going to dismiss them? This is exactly why I got a headache. Yuan Jingxian smiled bitterly. I want to dismiss them, but they have been following me for more than a dozen years, so I can't make up my mind about this. I'm currently carefully thinking about it before taking any action. So I'm keeping them for the time being. Tang Xiu's eyes lit up and he smilingly said, how about we make a deal, Uncle Yuan? I want to find capable researchers to help me research this magnetic levitation flying disc. Since you already have the ready-made personnel, so I'm just going to pay you an amount of money. How about transferring them to me? Do you really want to try it? Asked Yuan Jingxian, surprised.
Yeah,
said Tang Xiu with a smile. Chapter 629, Savage Beasts Attack. The researchers at his research institute were akin to hot potatoes to Yuan Jingxian. He was conflicted between abandoning his conscience and not to abandon them, but he had little use for them in the future. It was precisely amid such a dilemma that Tang Xiu's proposal came, and it made him very satisfied. He didn't quote the price but put forward a condition instead. Please do say, Uncle Yuan. With cautiousness in mind, Tang Xiu observed him. He knew that the world did not provide free lunch. Yuan Jingxian was unwilling to sell and transfer the team of researchers to him, thus it could mean that the condition he put forward would be not easy to complete. As expected, Yuan Jingxian smiled and said, Tang Xiu, you have a hand of Midas with vision and ability that are beyond that of an ordinary person's. I need projects. I hope that I can cooperate with you in certain areas. As long as you can let me invest my money, I can give you my research institute for free along with the researchers. Tang Xiu slightly frowned. If he had a good project, he would have invested his money already. Why would he still wait until now? Yuan Jingxuan's request was therefore quite difficult for him, and for a while, he did not know how he should deal with it. Seeing that Tang Xiu looked awkward, Yuan Jingxian lightly smiled. I'm aware that asking you to give me some projects at present is unrealistic. I can hand over the laboratory and the researchers to you, and I only need your promise now. After contemplating a bit, Tang Xiu said, I don't dare to guarantee 100%. But if I have a business plan and come across some good projects that require me to cooperate with others later, I will call you first, Uncle Yuan. Clapping his hands, Yuan Jingxian smiled with satisfaction. It's a deal. This way, the researchers who are now going home to celebrate the new year will return to work at the research institute afterward. Let's set a date and I'll take you there myself by then. All right. Tang Xiu smiled and nodded. As a matter of fact, he also lacked the confidence in researching the magnetic levitation flying disc. After all, the subject of science and technology research was something out of his expertise. The reason why he wanted to start the research was that he had already seen the object. He knew how huge the sensation it would create and how wondrous the profits it would make once the object was fully researched and developed. Ring ring ring. The ringtone of Tang Xiu's mobile phone suddenly buzzed. After picking it up and looking at the number displayed on the screen, Tang Xiu immediately connected it and spoke. Have you returned to Star City, Sis Xiaowan?
Yeah,
I'm already here. Chen Xiaowan's voice came replying. Where are you now? Are you free and have some time to go out and meet me? I still have things to tend to right now. I'll treat you to lunch at noon, said Tang Xiu with a smile. Okay. Chen Xiaowan readily agreed. After ending the call, Tang Xiu looked at Yuan Jingxian and spoke, Uncle Yuan, please don't forget to call me after the researchers come to work again after the new year. I'll still be in Star City before the 15th of January. Got it. No problem, said Yuan Jingxian with a smile. Shortly after, Tang Xiu got up and bade farewell. Though Yuan Jingxian and Zhao Jing wanted him to stay for lunch, Tang Xiu refused since he already had an appointment with Chen Xiaowan. Yuan Chuling didn't go with him as he had just returned from Shanghai and had planned to stay at home with his parents. He was obviously more mature than before after having gone through many things, much to his parents' happiness and satisfaction. However, on the way to see Chen Xiaowan, Tang Xiu received a call from Su Ben and learned that a big incident had happened, so he immediately contacted Chen Xiaowan and told her that he had to go to his hometown as there was a very urgent matter. After concluding the call, he directly turned the steering wheel and rushed to his hometown. Su Ben told him on the phone that several murder cases happened in the Su family village as well as in the neighboring villages in the recent days. According to the investigation of the local Public Security Bureau, it was found that the murderers were not humans but very horrible beasts. Such a situation made Tang Xiu remember what Su Ben told him, that in the back hill of the Su family village there was a leopard larger than a bull. At that time, Tang Xiu's conjecture was that the beast should be a savage, fierce beast, and he did not deal with it since he did not encounter it before. Su family village, Songlu town. It was nearly the new year and at this time, the whole village portrayed a jubilant scene. Children dressed in clean clothes were running around, setting off firecrackers, sticking and pasting couplets, and playing games, whereas the adults were preparing for the New Year's products or gathered together in groups of 3 to 5 to chat. When Tang Xiu drove the car to the village, however, only a few men came back from the outside holding iron shovels and harpoons in their hands, with solemn and vigilant expressions on their faces. Creak. As the car stopped in front of them, Tang Xiu then faced them and asked, "How is the current situation? How many people have been killed in the Su family village?" One of the men was among the ones that was helped by Tang Xiu in the previous beating incidents and was sent to the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital, Su Xiangjian. Upon hearing Tang Xiu's inquiry, he squeezed out a sad smile and said, "Two died, Zhangwen and Gangzi. The day when that beast killed them, hundreds of people from several villages joined us to scour the mountain, but we couldn't find its shadow at all. We really want to kill it." "How many villagers from other villages became victims?" asked Tang Xiu quickly. "2 people from our village. A total of 4 added up with the ones from other villages. The number now became 6 victims, with several others injured. Wang Haiyang from the little village of Wang is gravely injured and maybe won't be able to make through this year." "Which places the beast attacked them?" asked Tang Xiu once again. While pointing to the north, Su Xiangjian bitterly said, "Some from our village were attacked in the orchard at the foot of the hill. They were pruning apple trees back then and were attacked by that damned beast. The victims from other villages were also attacked near the mountain at the back. The man who survived said that it was a leopard the size of a bull." Tang Xiu nodded in response. He took out cigarettes from his pocket and gave it to them. Then he talked to them for a while before driving to his grandmother's house. Tang Xiu. Su Ben and Su Quan were long waiting and rushed up to welcome him at this time. After Tang Xiu got off the car, he said, "I met the uncles when I just entered the village and learned the situation from them. Brother Ben, Su Quan, wait for me here. I'm going in and say hi to Grandma, and then you all will go with me to the back of the mountain." "We can't go there, Tang Xiu," said Su Ben quickly. Tang Xiu shot him a deep gaze and said with a serious expression, "Brother Ben, there's something that you don't know. I've been practicing martial arts with some experts in the recent years, and I can tell you that my foundation is very deep. Tens of men are not my opponents. Besides, with you all following me, we can kill that leopard as long as we can find it. Listen to me, Tang Xiu. That leopard is no way an ordinary wild beast." Su Ben shook his head and replied. "And now many people even say that this leopard is something akin to a demon spawn. Let alone 3 of us, even 30 people going there without weapons will probably not come back alive." Tang Xiu was silent for a moment before speaking, "Just wait for me here first, I'll tell you something later." Having said that, he stepped into the courtyard's entrance and then saw Su Xiangfei, who was currently whetting a javelin in the yard. Tang Xiu was slightly dazed upon seeing it and immediately asked, "When did you come back?" Squeezing a smiling face, Su Xiangfei said, "Been back here for more than a week." Tang Xiu nodded and asked, "Is Grandma inside?" She's inside, having a nap after lunch. Su Xiongfei said. Grandma has been great recently, though she's kinda sad due to the death of the villagers. She's in a bad mood these days. Tang Xiu then nodded. Since she's sleeping, then I'm going out to deal with something. I'm coming with you, said Su Xiongfei quickly. I just heard your conversation outside. With me, Brother Ben, and Su Quan, the three of us are enough. Tang Xiu shook his head. Don't worry, it will be fine. Another one will add more strength, Tang Xiu. Su Xiongfei shook his head. I must go with you all. Tang Xiu hesitated. After looking at his determined expression, he then nodded and said, all right, let's go. As he came outside, Tang Xiu took out a pistol from his pocket, showed it under the light toward them and then quickly stuffed it back, speaking in a low voice, this gun is usually for my self-defense. When we get to the back of the mountain, once we find the leopard and are unable to kill it by our own force, then I'll shoot it. Tang Xiu, how come you have a gun? Asked Su Quan immediately, astounded. The pistol was actually obtained by Tang Xiu after he killed the members of the Yao family. There were quite a number of guns inside his interspatial ring, and even some submachine guns and sniper rifles. Certainly, he couldn't mention it to them about it, and therefore made up some reasons, I'm a billion yuan big boss. It would be quite dangerous if I didn't have the means to defend myself whenever some evil people want to strike me for money. Anyhow, rest assured, I won't do anything illegal with this gun. It's just to defend myself. Both Su Ben and Su Quan immediately understood since both of them were employees of the magnificent Tang Corporation. Su Ben was now a deputy captain of the security guards in the company's winery and naturally knew that the security team of the company was now armed with guns legally licensed by the government. Su Xiongfei, however, did not know about this. But after realizing Tang Xiu's present status, he also expressed his understanding. 10 minutes later, after Tang Xiu drove the car and parked it in the back hill with the three people, they hurriedly got up and trekked the mountain pathway leading to the mountain with vigilance. Except for Tang Xiu who brought a gun, Su Ben and Su Quan brought a harpoon and an iron shovel, whereas Su Xiongfei was armed with his javelin. The moment they entered the Jing mountain, Tang Xiu had already released his spiritual sense. Though his present level of cultivation was very high, he did not find the level of strength of that leopard. Furthermore, he had 3 people with him around, so he needed to guarantee their safety as well. Give me some directions. I often came here when we're children, but my memory is kinda blurred about the many places, said Tang Xiu to them. It was actually his real purpose of bringing them. Let's scour the surroundings first. Su Ben said. We'll venture deeper if we can't find it. Many places are fraught with dangers over this mountain, especially in the valley. I'm quite familiar with those places, just follow me. Chapter 630, Venturing Deeper into the Mountain to Hunt. The mountainous area to the north of the Su family village was one of the mountain range branches of the Yuzhou Ridge. It was only several kilometers wide but comprised of quite a lot of large and small hills. The place turned luxuriantly lush and green during the summer with its towering old trees, yet it looked desolate in the cold winter. When Tang Xiu was a child, he followed the adults to venture to the back of the mountain, but only a few times had he ventured deeper into the mountain range. Many old hunters who made a living from hunting may have ventured deeper inside. Su Ben's grandfather was one among those old hunters, but after Su Ben's father generation, they did not fully make a living from hunting anymore. The tapered towering rocks were queer and were arduously precipitous. The 4 men searched for a few hours on the periphery and did not find the trail of the leopard, so they trekked over the mountain and entered a very long valley on the backside. Here Tang Xiu narrowed the range of his spiritual sense to a radius of 50 meters to save his energy. Tang Xiu, we will have to jump over that mountain creek later. Remember to do your very best to jump over, or else you'll fall. The 4 men's trek came to a stop halfway up the mountainside, as Su Ben pointed to the gap of the mountain creek about 7+ meters away from them. Don't worry, replied Tang Xiu. The gap in the mountain creek was 2+ meters wide and the four jumped over with extra care, and then took a rest for a dozen minutes before continuing with the trekking toward the inside. They climbed over and headed toward the lower terrain. And due to the area located at the back of the mountain, some of the places still had snow that had yet to melt. Walking on the mountain pathway here was arduously difficult. Su Ben took a glance at the time on his mobile phone. It was 4:30 p.m. He stopped and said with all seriousness, "We can only trek up this point today as it will turn dark in about an hour. I'm afraid that we'll encounter some dangers if we go back too late." Tang Xiu took his mobile out, too, and found that there was no signal, and then said, "Let's spend the night here. Let's venture deeper to find a hidden place to rest. Night is the time for wild animals and beasts to wander around, so the chance of us spotting that leopard is also bigger if we stay here." This, Su Ben and Su Quan exchanged dismayed looks and similarly had hesitant looks. "Even if we are to rush back now, we won't be able to get to the foot of the mountain until the sky completely turns dark, brothers," said Su Xiangfei calmly. "Let's just stay here." "Yup, don't worry." Tang Xiu glanced at him with satisfaction. "How will I dare to go to the peak of the mountain without 2 or 3 more people? I can guarantee your safety since I'm the one who brought you here. That leopard is loathsome. I'm afraid those villagers from the several villages won't be in the mood to celebrate the new year if we don't exterminate it. Besides, I don't know how many people will have to die when it appears again some other day." "All right, then." Su Ben and Su Quan finally nodded. After half an hour, the quartet rushed and arrived at the most bottom of the valley. While looking at the shimmering small lake in front, Su Ben pointed to a stone riprap at the foot of the hill and said, "There's a cave behind that pile of stones. I used to stay in there when I went hunting with Grandpa in the past. Let's stay here tonight."
Yeah.
"I once came here with your Gramps, too," Su Quan smilingly said. "The old Gramps gave us roasted chicken and liquor back then. It was my first time having a drink. Unfortunately, we came here way too hurried, else I'd have brought some wine had I known we would spend the night here." A glint flashed in Tang Xiu's eyes and a smiling expression climbed up his face. He stuffed his hand into his pocket to conceal taking a half-pound of white wine from his interspatial ring, and then smilingly said, "Well, I came prepared." "You really have some liquor in your pocket?" Su Quan was astounded. "Tell me, Tang Xiu, you had already decided to spend the night here before?" "No, something's not right. Your clothes won't be that big, no? It can't hide a bottle of wine underneath, right?" "A half-pound of liquor isn't too big and can be stuffed underneath my clothes pocket," said Tang Xiu with a smile. "Anyhow, go to the cave behind that stone riprap first. I'll comb the surrounding and get you all some game." "I'm going with you, Tang Xiu," said Su Ben. "No, don't worry, Brother Ben." Tang Xiu shook his head and smilingly said, "I have confidence in my strength. I'm afraid that I must pay attention to take care of you too if you come with me." Su Ben did not know Tang Xiu's strength, yet he realized one thing. After trekking the mountain at noon today, Tang Xiu did not look fatigued at all until now, not even dropping a sweat. One must note that he had been doing a lot of physical exercises every day since he started working in the security team of the magnificent Tang Corporation for the past 6 months. He thought that his physical fitness was very good already. But after secretly comparing himself with Tang Xiu, he finally discovered that his metabolism was not as good as his. "I know that you've been smart and cautious since we're small, but still, you must pay attention to your safety," said Su Ben in a low voice. Patting his shoulder, Tang Xiu picked a direction at random and walked toward the dead grove. He picked his speed up immediately after leaving their sight and smoothly traversed the wooded mountain. He released his spiritual sense and spread it out in a wide scope. In just 10 minutes, he had scoured the radius of 7+ kilometers, and yet he didn't find any trace of the leopard except for some wild animals. 2 pheasants and 1 hare. It should be enough for the 4 of us to eat, no? Tang Xiu took the precious herbs and stuffed them into his interspatial ring, and then sat with the random prey caught in the rock pile not far from the lakeside. Oh. Suddenly, Tang Xiu, who was taking the long route to return, had a surprised expression on his face. He suddenly sensed that the concentration of the world energy in the surrounding got richer the more he paced forward. Even the concentration of the world's spiritual qi became 2 or 3 times richer than of other places after passing nearly a kilometer. Something's unusual here. Tang Xiu quickly stuffed the pheasants and hare into his interspatial ring. He took out the bloodguzzler dagger and backhandedly wielded it, as he then carefully observed the surroundings as well as estimated the concentration of the world's spiritual qi, and then headed toward the place with higher concentration. He realized that he was slowly deviating from the direction he must return since the direction was heading toward another mountain, on the other side of the valley. 10 minutes later, he stopped in front of a 7+ meters high stone forest. Though there were also many trees growing here, his visibility was much further since the deadwood was already scarce. Under the combing of his spiritual sense, however, he found some particularities in this stone forest. This is an array of stones formed by nature. I really did not expect there would be a natural stone array here. It has no attacking power, however, so this one ought to be a type of phantasmagoric array. Having observed it for 2 minutes, Tang Xiu resolutely stepped into the stone forest. After the estimation and judgment, he easily reached its center. And at this time, the concentration of heaven and earth spiritual qi here was already 10 times that of other places. My luck is not bad, a pity that. Looking at the gurgling white mist of the spring in front of him, there was a forced smile on Tang Xiu's face. It was a spirit spring, formed by a spiritual vein which contained a huge amount of spiritual energy. If cultivators were to cultivate here, they would definitely get twice the results with half the effort. Their cultivation speed would definitely be 100 times faster than their usual cultivation, if they were to soak themselves inside this spirit spring. He felt that it was a pity since this spirit spring wouldn't be much of a help to him since the energy he absorbed was star force, whereas the spiritual force of the earth had only an auxiliary effect on him. Suddenly, an idea sprung up inside his head when he remembered Su Ben and Su Quan. He immediately decided to teach these 2 fellas a cultivation technique. He had decided to groom talents, and they were close to him, his family, thus he knew well their characters and dispositions. These 2 would be able to help him more in the future if he trained them well. But something made Tang Xiu hesitant. Su Xiangfei was also with them at the moment. Though he had already changed his disposition, steadier and more mature, after having experienced the drastic change in his family and even had recognized and approved him as a family, they were, after all. After contemplating for several minutes, Tang Xiu then decided to teach Su Xiangfei a cultivation technique as well. Even though the grievance between them was quite deep in the past, he believed that Su Xiangfei was someone who could change. Not to mention that he had made him lose a lot more. He only needed to show him that he was formidable enough and believed that the cousin would not birth any evil thoughts again toward him. With that in mind, Tang Xiu immediately withdrew from the stone forest and quickly returned to the cave where the trio was covertly staying. As he arrived there, he saw the trio standing at the entrance to the cave, waiting and observing the surroundings. Fill your stomach first. I'm going to present you all with a big opportunity. Tang Xiu threw 2 pheasants and hare in front of the trio and smilingly spoke. When the trio saw the pheasants and hare, surprised looks immediately appeared on their faces. Little did they think that Tang Xiu could actually hunt game in the middle of the night. The trio, however, was confused upon hearing his remark, as Su Quan then asked, "What exactly is the opportunity you want to gift us, Tang Xiu?" "Eat first," said Tang Xiu. After replying, he took out the salt and spices from his pocket. These things were all inside his interspatial ring, but he already stuffed them in small bottles on the way back, so it didn't look strange. Collecting dry wood branches to lit up a bonfire. Su Ben swiftly killed the pheasants and the hare with the knife he brought and had them cleaned at the lakeside. After which he had them roasted on the bonfire. They were offspring who lived close to the mountain and had roasted game whenever they had gatherings. Soon after, the 2 yellowish roasted pheasant and hare had been roasted. What a fragrance! Pity that there's not enough liquor, though. With half a pound of liquor and 4 men, nobody was able to drink more than 1 or 2 sips. But with the roasted pheasants and hare, the 4 still wolfed it down, making them feel warm and nice. After they finished eating, Su Quan asked again, "You won't keep us guessing anymore, will you, Tang Shou? Come on, spit it out. What kind of big opportunity you want to give us, exactly?" While shooting the trio a deep gaze, Tang Shou asked, "Before I tell you that, I want to ask you something. Are you all willing to give your lives to me? I make a living from you, eating and drinking with you. So I'll naturally work to my best effort for you," said Su Ben without thinking. Su Quan, however, hesitated for a short while before replying, "We grew up and played together until we turned into adults. We're tied by blood and kinship as well, so naturally, we're willing to work hard for you, Tang Shou. As a matter of fact, my feeling is similar to Brother Ben's. We are all relatives and brothers. You only need to speak as long as you need something from us." Tang Shou nodded without a word, as he then looked at Su Xiangfei.